well, thank you. I hope you're doing well today.
Absolutely. We're certainly doing well today. It is fantastic to talk to you. We appreciate you taking time this morning. I know a lot is going on in Washington, D.C. right now. You are a very busy man. Let's talk a little bit about some of the issues that have come up over the past, since we've last talked and certainly recently. Neil Gorsuch confirmed to the Supreme Court. You voted for Neil Gorsuch. Tell us, how did you think he was the most qualified candidate for the Supreme Court?
I think when I thought about Neil Gorsuch, I put who he is into three basic categories. One is, has he been educated, and does his experience indicate the type of mainstream conservative jurist I am looking for? And the third component was, is he the type of person who has a temperament that fits our times and could truly be helpful as we head into this next generation? And I think the answer to all three were yes, without doubt. Number one, well-educated, Harvard, Columbia, and Oxford University. His decisions as a jurist have been lauded by so many folks. Out of 2,700 decisions, only 2 have been overturned. 99% of his decisions have been in the majority, which tells us that while he is a conservative,
right,
he is also in the mainstream. And number 3, his temperament through the entire hearing process, which was very often a hit job from the left.
Right.
He's able to maintain a consistent, even keel that I believe is helpful. And to sum it all up, I would suggest that his comment that a judge that likes every one of his rulings is likely a bad judge. You cannot follow your personal desires. You must follow the law. And that is a delineation that we need more of, not less of, from my perspective, on benches.
So why were, and I think we all, this is, more of a talking point, but why were the folks on the left, why were they so adamant about denying him access to the court when they voted unanimously for him for his federal judgeship?
Yes, and they didn't just vote, as you just said, Charlie, unanimously for his federal judgeship on a lower level court. He was not on the district level. He was on the level that feeds into the Supreme Court. So he had strong credibility 10 years ago. He has done nothing except for to reinforce why they said yes 10 years ago. It only indicates the shift in the political environment to the left. That
right.
They, in fact, had to not make the right decision, but to make a decision that pleased or appeased their far left echo chamber.
Do you think we have ever seen a Congress as politically divided as we have right now, both in the House and Senate?
There's no doubt that we are in a very polarized place as a country, and therefore also as a Congress. We are working our way through some very difficult times. There's no doubt that I believe that the hangover from the election has not gone away yet. We're heading towards day 100,
right.
And we're still working through the hangover that the left has with having President Trump and not President Clinton. And that has clouded much of the conversation. Many of the town halls around the country, and the 2 that I've done, you see and feel and hear this visceral response because Hillary Clinton is not president.
Right.
But the American people have spoken. They spoke clear. They spoke loud. And in a whirlwind type of an election that we haven't seen since probably Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump did a good job of attracting voters that have been consistently Democrats in states where we haven't won.
Sure.
So he has put together the Trump coalition.
I mean, Trump was able to break through the blue wall that Hillary Clinton was really counting on. Now, in your town halls that you've been having across South Carolina, folks have been showing up, and we all know that these, resist movements have been going on. Does it seem like the left right now really doesn't want to have a conversation they just want to shout people down?
Charlie, I tell you, if even when you agree with the folks in the room, if they're from the indivisible crowd, the resist crowd, they're typically going to respond in a negative fashion. It tells me that appeasing the crowd is nearly impossible. But B, my job as a fellow who enjoys public service and who enjoys constituent interactions, that my job is to listen to them and try my best to not prejudge what the response will be, which is a difficult task.
Yeah.
But it's one that is necessary. But no doubt, the vast majority of folks walk into the room with their minds made up, walk out the room with their minds made up, and nothing has changed, no matter the evidence.
And you would have thought that they would have really, the folks on the left, the Democrats and a lot of the never-Trumpers, would have gotten behind President Trump when he had this Tomahawk missile attack on Syria. But it seems like that's not even the case. I mean, the guy, Assad has been accused of gassing his own people. The president responded in a show of strength. You would have thought that folks would have gotten behind him on that. Why is the president getting so much flack for this act of strength that he showed to Assad?
I think it goes right back to the whole notion of the hangover, as I'm calling it, because the folks who are pro-refugee protesters should be in strong opposition to Assad gassing the Syrians. There was an editorial or commentary in the Wall Street Journal just a couple of days ago by a fellow named, I think it's Qasim Ed, and he said, if you want to really support my people, you folks who are so pro-refugee, support my people by getting rid of Assad. This is a clear indication that if President Trump is responding in a way that the folks who say we ought to be more helpful to the refugees, here's a way to help according to a Syrian refugee. And I don't think we are not looking for ways to change the regime, but when the regime in Syria used banned chemical weapons to suffocate children, it changed the calculus. I was very supportive of President Trump's action. I think the vast majority of Americans were, but those in that echo chamber who can't find any way to say, President Trump, you made a good decision. Objectively, it was the right call. Congratulations. I oppose you on other issues, but I was with you on that issue. That doesn't happen. And that's unfortunate in the world that we live politically.
How do you feel about the president's proposal to place safe zones in places like Syria, where these people can, I mean, we had that one caller to CNN the other night saying, let's get these safe zones. Let's protect us. We don't want to be refugees. We want to stay in our own country. Do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's a very good idea. I'm hopeful that one of the areas that Mr. Tillerson has been working on while he had his stint in Russia with Mr. Putin and his counterpart is to make sure that the communication lines between our military stay open so as to allow us to work towards an effort to have a place of a safe haven in the country that would require likely flyovers to maintain aerial superiority and to keep that zone safe. And if the lines of communication are open, then we can move in that direction, which is good news for the average person who lives and or who used to live in Syria and wants to be close to their homeland. The one thing that I believe to be consistent is refugees consistently say, I want to go home. That means if they don't have to leave home, they're better off according to themselves. They just don't want to be killed and murdered by the regime. So if we can set up a safe zone, I think we solve a lot of problems for the refugees and do good work in a country where the hope is that sometime in the future, when Assad is no longer there, those folks can build a new government.
Yeah, we're talking with Senator Tim Scott. Is the world used to a strong America like they're seeing right now? Are the Russians used to a strong America? Are the North Koreans used to seeing a strong America? I mean, for the past 8 years, we've kind of been leading from a position of weakness. Are they used to us leading from a position of strength? Are they going to have some growing pains?
I think the world will have growing pains without any question. The last 8 years, most of us remember the famous remark, the post-2012 thought that President Obama had about after the election, I'll have more margin to do things that may not be popular.
Right.
Thankfully, we now have a president who is saying, I'm not waiting until after any elections. This is who I am, and this is what we're going to do, like it or not. That is a strong position to take, and it's pretty clear to me that even with the UN vote yesterday, our allies are looking at us with a new level of respect, and our enemies are looking at us with a new heightened level of fear. This plays well for our national security objectives and for maintaining peace without becoming the world's cop.
Right. Have you been impressed with Nikki Haley's role as UN ambassador?
I said recently that she is one of the shining lights in the administration.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question that our former governor is she's a little woman, but she is batting above her weight. She's fighting above her weight. She's
right.
making us so proud. And maybe the boxing analogy, she would be a lightweight, but she is a heavyweight when it comes to foreign policy and for leadership. But we knew that through the church shooting. We knew that through the floods. We knew that through the hurricanes. Mm-hmm. But now the world knows that Nikki Haley is a force to be reckoned with.
Is Tim Scott optimistic about the future of this country?
I am more optimistic today than I was 6 months ago, to be honest with you. I anticipate and fully expect that we will go through some turbulent times. It's as if our country is on one of two paths, but it leads to one future. So one of my objectives is to build a bridge between those two paths and help us get to that one future, because ultimately America's best days requires all hands on deck, and we are going to see those better days. We're going to have to fight and argue and disagree our way to a place where we find common ground, and when we do so, the world has not seen what the United States of America will produce in good.
There you go. Senator Tim Scott, we appreciate you being with us. Thank you very much, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Charlie. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.